Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Karin Helmstedt.
Greetings once again from the German capital and a warm welcome to our highlights edition. Coming at you this time with the following stories. French Forum, the latest trends at the Hyères Fashion and Photography Festival. Crystal cloud, a sparkling sensation somewhere in the Austrian Alps. And tough trend taking things to the limit at a German obstacle course. Well, Paris, London and Milan, for instance, are still the big hubs for mainstream fashion here in Europe. But the who's who of the industry also honors events with a much more eclectic and integrative reach, like the Festival of Fashion and Photography in the southern French city of Hyères. Now, held this year for the 30th time, young designers and artists had a meeting of the minds under the artistic direction of Karl Lagerfeld, and Euromaxx was there to catch a glimpse of some of the designers of tomorrow.
For one weekend, the fashion world flocks to the International Festival of Fashion in Hyères, France. Their focus is on 10 finalists who this year include young German designers Christina Braun and Anna Bornholt, as well as Annelie Schubert, who studied in Germany. The competition is their big chance.
I have no expectations. It's about the experience, being with the people here, enjoying the atmosphere and exchanging ideas, and that's really great.
The International Festival of Fashion and Photography, which takes place at the Villa Noailles, is a mixture of fashion show, industry gathering, conference and exhibition. For 3 decades, it's been drawing designers, artists and fashionistas to the small French town of Hyères. Celebrities make up the jury. Among them this time are Princess Caroline of Monaco, Chanel's creative studio director Virginie Viard, and model Caroline de Maigret.
I think we made a very eclectic 10 finalists. They're very different propositions. And I'm quite proud. Because there's some very interesting things. I think our vision altogether would be to choose someone that has a vision of a woman that can create something, invent something.
That's the advantage of being in Hyères, far from the fashion circus. Here, budding designers get to mingle with industry greats in an informal setting.
The atmosphere is quite relaxed. You can talk to people and make contacts, which is quite pleasant. That awful feeling of distance is gone.
Villa Noailles has been promoting such dialogue since the mid-1920s. Back then, the villa's owners, Charles and Marie-Laure Noailles, invited artists and designers to come and influence one another's work. Jean-Pierre Blanc revived the idea when he founded the festival in 1986.
My first idea was to improve the relation between young designer and professional people, because I'm thinking that it is too much closed, and I would like to open it. That's really the reason at the beginning. Something like a dream.
The festival isn't only about fashion and photography. French neo-folk singer Woodkid also put in a surprise appearance.
Just fashion for fashion doesn't really mean much. Fashion is made to have people wear them and use them in a context. So everyday life, videos, movies, and stage, music.
Backstage, the tension is building. Most of the 10 finalists have just completed degrees in fashion design. In about half an hour, they'll present their creations at the final, all-deciding fashion show held in a barn near the seaside. Some 900 guests are expected. The designers examine each piece one last time.
You just want to check that everything's clean and well prepared. I'm getting rid of a bit of lint on my creations, which helps calm my nerves.
Each designer has created 8 different looks. Soon comes the moment they've all been waiting for. The announcement of the 4 prize winners. The festival's grand prize is worth 15,000 euros. Annelies Schubert took her inspiration from classic aprons. Apparently, the judges liked it. The 28-year-old designer won the Première Vision Grand Prize. Anna Bornhold also has something to be happy about. She's won the Chloé Prize, sponsored by a French fashion house.
I think this is going to sink in only later.
When the jury met this morning, it was clear that she would be the winner. We were also taken with the way she presented herself as a person.
Even those who didn't take home prizes had cause to celebrate. Just being selected to take part in the Hyères festival has made them known to fashion experts the world over.
Well, diamonds may be a girl's best friend, but crystals can indeed be an artist's best inspiration, at least for two artists working in Austria. The duo Cao has created a crystal cloud in the Austrian Alps as part of a special exhibition for the luxury crystal producer Swarovski. And so we went along to see how these gemstones have, this time quite literally, claimed the countryside.
These clouds are made of wire mesh adorned with 800,000 crystals. They glitter and gleam in different colors, depending on the play of light. The installation in the Austrian Alps is the creation of two artists who go by the name of Cao. They were inspired by their first landing at Innsbruck Airport, 20 kilometers away.
The site is so dramatic with the Alps, the surrounding mountain, and when you landed, you're flying through, almost like you can reach out and touch the Alps, and then you're flying through the clouds, and then you descend into the airport. And we thought, what an incredible experience. And if you can interpret that or reinterpret it and create something new.
The Crystal Cloud is the largest project so far for American artist Andy Cao and Xavier Perrault. They've been working together for 14 years now.
To experiment with ideas, with materials that we are not used to see in such a way in the landscape.
When we bring it outdoor, you kind of set the crystal free because it interacts with the natural elements. There's the wind, the light, the moonlight, the snow, everything, and it constantly changes.
The cloud is the latest attraction at Crystal Worlds, one of Austria's most visited attractions. It's just reopened after a €34 million expansion. The hillside in the centre is a gentle green giant, and inside its belly lies the subterranean Chamber of Wonders, created in 1995 by Austrian multimedia artist André Heller to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Swarovski company. Andy and Xavier spent hours in the Chamber of Wonders before embarking on their own crystal cloud.
We wanted to take the essence of a wonder chamber, which is pretty much a world of fantasy that is within one room, and create an outdoor room.
Building the crystal cloud took 2 years in all. The original blueprint included only the broad outlines of the design. The rest was improvised as they went along. The two artists had a staff of about 30 who placed the crystals.
So we worked on all the paths and in between the ripples and on the lawn, and what does it do if we are here, and what do we see, what do we experience. So that's how we developed and kept fine-tuning until we get the final shape.
In each project, you just try something new. It's always try and error, and we just have to learn to trust our instinct, our intuition, and that is what always guides us.
This isn't their first work. In 2004, they created an installation in California using handmade textiles and fishing lines. In Canada, they installed oversized lanterns inside a park. In front of the Palace of Versailles, a field of plastic reeds and wheat yielded patterns that danced with the wind.
And that's why we like to call them environments instead of just gardens or landscape. It's total environments that really take all these aspects of the 3D or 4 dimensions and the movement and the weather also, a lot of interactions.
Not long ago, they experimented with crystals on the terrace of an English country estate. Here in the Alps, they had a large meadow, 1.3 hectares in all, to play with. They're expecting nearly 1 million visitors a year from all over the world.
Maybe for people coming from the United Arab Emirates, they will see sand dunes maybe, instead of mountains, or maybe ripples for people from the sea. They will see those kind of it's as if like you see ripples. So it can be many things at the same time, and leave them the liberty to see what they want to see.
And just have a moment for ourselves. I think that's the best way to have a garden. We think that's what it's for, to escape.
Like most of their work, the Crystal Cloud is a blend of art and landscape, or a dreamscape, if you will. Over time, it will be transformed by the wind, weather, and the change of seasons.
The World's Fair has always been a place to show off the diversity of human achievement. And in 2015, the focus is on the Italian city of Milan and on one of the world's ever-growing dilemmas. Feeding the planet, energy for life, is the main theme for the Expo Milan 2015. Issues such as nutrition, sustainability in the food chain, and looming climate change will be taking center stage. Not an uncontroversial event, to say the least. And our reporter Hendrik Velling was there to check out the German pavilion.
The German pavilion at Expo 2015 in Milan. Its theme is Field of Ideas and presents concepts about how to tackle the problem of feeding the world. Euromaxx reporter Hendrik Velling was one of the first visitors to take a look around the pavilion. Some 3 million people are expected to pass through its doors in the coming 6 months.
So now I'm excited about the exhibition in the German pavilion and how Germany's interpretation of this year's Expo theme.
Feeding the planet, energy for life. That's the central theme of Expo 2015. Nutrition, sustainability, and green energy are key issues. The visitors receive a seed board when they enter the pavilion. This simple piece of cardboard helps them explore the various stations. When opened in certain areas, the seed board lets you see projected films or info. Hendrik controls the action by tipping the board or moving it up and down. The specialized technology recognizes the outlines of the board and ensures the content is projected onto just the right spot.
So I'm pretty impressed by this seed board, actually because it's just a piece of paper, but it works really, really well.
In the first part of the exhibition, visitors learn about the role water, earth, and climate play in food production. Hendrik tries out things on his own, communicates with other visitors on the roof, or uses his seed board. And he meets the brains behind this interactive exhibition, Peter Redlin.
The nicest thing would be for you to be infected with the joy we had in developing this. And to take away not just the atmosphere, but also a better understanding of the theme of this expo.
Each area profiles actual projects, like the Gattersleben Gene Bank, which collects the seeds of endangered plant species. It's a showcase for biodiversity. With his seed board, Hendrik learns what plants are under threat. A whole room is devoted to food. What do we eat? How will we feed ourselves in the future? And how is food grown? This room inspires our reporter to plant some lettuce on the balcony. His tour ends with a show. Here too, Hendrik plays an active role. He takes a trip through Germany from a bee's perspective, with sound effects provided by 2 musicians. Creative ideas are to be found not only in, but also on the pavilion. Hendrik notices the solar panels printed on the membrane roofs. This innovation produces enough electricity to power 2 households.
This is about showing the solar cells, creating an exhibit and presenting an application that inspires architects and designers to pick up on this technology and perpetuate it.
After his tour of the German pavilion, it's time for Hendrik to relax and enjoy the view over the Expo grounds.
So it was really interesting to visit the German pavilion today, either here on the roof and in the exhibition downstairs. And it made me a little bit proud to see how the Germans handle the topics, nutrition and sustainability.
The German pavilion at Expo 2015 invites visitors to participate. And that's the first step towards meeting the challenge of feeding the planet in the future.
Well, speaking of challenges, anyone who's looking for one that tests your mental and your physical endurance should take part in what they call a Tough Mudder contest. Now, this is an endurance event on the military model that puts participants through a rough round of paces with an emphasis on teamwork. Now, they have to overcome numerous obstacles that often play on common human fears, things like very deep mud or fire. So not a pastime for the faint of heart, but we went to one in Western Germany to see what it was like.
If you like crawling, climbing, and jumping into cold water, then these endurance events might just be for you. They're growing in popularity in Germany. Here at the Xletics Challenge, almost 4,000 amateur athletes will push themselves to the limit. This group from Marburg are among those taking part. For some of them, it's their first time at an event like this.
It's about having fun as a group, it's not about our times.
It was on my bucket list. I have to try it at least once.
To reach the finish line and to have fun with the team. Those are my main motivations.
The group all want to finish the race together. But it'll be a challenge for every member of the team. As these events become more popular, organizers are coming up with new races to meet the demand. This year, there are more than 70, with 8 of those set up by the organizer, Xletics. The obstacles pose a huge challenge for many participants.
It's great. I just fell in the water, but otherwise it's great.
I'm here with people from work and now I'm exhausted.
I feel good, but we've only done 4 kilometers. There are still 10 to go.
25 obstacles placed over 13 kilometers force the competitors to get their hands and everything else dirty. Sports psychologist Thomas Teubel says events like these are popular because they contrast with the comfort of modern life.
We're trying to get back in touch with ourselves by doing these races. We want to test our limits, and day-to-day life doesn't give us much of a chance to do that. That's why we seek out these extremes.
The obstacles are based on military drills. Anyone who fails to clear an obstacle has to do burpee-style push-ups.
Each moment of pain contains a kind of pleasure, you have to say. It's bittersweet, a kind of paradox. Overcoming these hurdles and completing the race makes us feel happy and proud afterwards. And that's what we want to achieve.
Back at the Xletics Challenge, some of the obstacles are more about teamwork than overcoming pain.
Without the team, I wouldn't have made it at all. It's cool. Everyone helps one another.
The group made it together just like they wanted to, an achievement they can all be proud of.
Fun stuff. Well, finally, we're headed to the Spanish city of Barcelona for a stroll down the main thoroughfare there called La Rambla. That's a long avenue in the heart of the city. It's lined with cafes and shops and amazing tapas bars, but with all of the hustle and bustle, it is quite easy to get lost. And so we met up with one of the locals for a tour.
A trip to Barcelona wouldn't be complete without a visit to La Rambla, the soul of the city. All year round, millions of tourists come to soak up its irresistible charm. At the heart of the boulevard is the world-famous market hall, La Boqueria.
Welcome to La Boqueria and San Josep Market. It's one of the best markets in Barcelona.
The market is steeped in history, dating back to the 13th century. This is one of the many stalls selling fruit, vegetables, fresh fish, and of course tapas. One of the oldest and most famous tapas bars is Pinocho, owned by Juan Bayen. You'll need luck on your side if you want to get a seat here, though. Most people leave it up to Juan to choose their meal. He's an expert in traditional Catalan cuisine.
My mother opened this business here in La Boqueria long ago. She passed the tradition on to me, and I manage the shop now with my son. We've had many opportunities to move, but La Boqueria on La Rambla is my home.
Juan Bayen grew up here. He's witnessed many changes to the street over the years. But for him, La Rambla will always be the place to see and be seen.
No matter where you're from, in Barcelona, everyone gathers on La Rambla, and that makes it one of the most beautiful places in the city.
La Rambla is around 1.3 kilometers long and runs from the hustle and bustle of Plaça de Catalunya all the way to the port of Barcelona. A statue of Columbus stands at one end. The rest of the boulevard is split into 5 sections, each with its own name. That's why it's often referred to as Las Ramblas, in the plural. Juan Bayen's favorite is La Rambla Sant Josep, also known as Rambla de las Flores, for the many flower stalls.
This spot on La Rambla is where people were allowed to sell flowers for the first time in Catalonia, and this tradition lives on today in these stalls. They represent a wonderful piece of history.
It's said La Rambla was once a sandy riverbed. For more than 400 years, a wall separated Barcelona from the western district of El Raval. In the early 18th century, the wall was torn down and the tree-lined promenade was built. The first flower stalls appeared in the mid-19th century and soon became a local landmark, as did the Gran Teatre del Liceu, which opened in 1847. The Opera House was destroyed in a fire around 20 years ago. It's now been repaired to its former beauty. The history of the boulevard is also reflected in the numerous street cafes, although most people here are now tourists. They stroll down the street year-round, unfortunately making it a goldmine for pickpockets. But they also provide an audience for the many street performers.
I like the fact that it's green and open and nice, but it's very, very busy.
I think the street is beautiful. It reminds me of the Champs-Élysées in Paris. It's very authentic, especially the small market behind it. La Boqueria, it's fantastic.
But for locals too, La Rambla is still the showplace of important events. At the Font de Canaletes, thousands of Barcelona FC fans gather regularly to celebrate their team's success. This fountain is also one of Juan Bayen's favourite spots. The water has more to it than meets the eye.
This water is magic. Legend has it that if you drink from the fountain, you'll stay in Barcelona forever.
Staying here forever with La Rambla at your feet sounds appealing. Even after all these years, the boulevard has lost none of its charm.
And with that, it's time for us to sign off. So until we meet again from all of us here in the studio in Berlin, alles Gute und bis bald. Tschüss und auf Wiedersehen.